don't wanna be buried in a pet cemetery. I don't want to live my life again. I don't wanna be buried in a pet cemetery. I don't want to live my life again. Oh no. Oh no. I don't want to live. Why did you dig up my wife?
Because I wanted to fuck her.
Pet Sematary, released in 1989, is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. From the iconic and legendary performance of Fred Gwynne as Judd Crandall, to the disturbing nightmare fuel of Zelda, the original Pet Sematary has a lot to offer in terms of entertainment and fright. It's a rather bleak and depressing horror outing that comments on the inevitability of death and often the unacceptance of it. It's a dark flick that always stirs some kind of emotional response in me. But the original Pet Sematary is also not without its campy cheesiness. So what happens when a sequel is made a few years later by the same director, but the camp and cheese gets cranked up to 11?
These go to 11.
Well, you get an entertaining and decent sequel that often gets overlooked by mainstream horror fans. So this October, let's take a trip down to the Pet Sematary with John Connor and see if we can't bring some new life to this often maligned sequel. After his mother, a famous actress, dies in a freak accident on the set of her latest film, teenage Jeff moves in with his estranged father, Chase, the new veterinarian in the main town of Ludlow. There he meets wimpy Drew Gilbert and his abusive father, Gus, who also happens to be the town sheriff. When Zoe, Drew's dog, dies, the boys bury him in the Indian burial ground, capable of bringing the dead back to life. Before long, people are going into the ground there too, including Gus, and if Jeff has anything to say about it, his dead mother as well. Pet Sematary 2 is a mean-spirited yet highly entertaining sequel. The flick features a great gothic atmosphere and a stellar cast, including Edward Furlong, Clancy Brown, and Anthony Edwards. But the movie is quite a brutal and sadistic affair. The sequel features some unsavory moments like rape, domestic violence, and the violent murder of children. It's a pretty nasty flick, and it does have an edge to it. It very much feels like a sequel to the original and does not spare the audience from violence or sadism. The characters in the movie are memorable, and Clancy Brown's performance as Gus is scene-stealing, as well as comically disturbing. Once again, this is a movie dealing with grief and how death is inevitable. Instead of a father bringing back a child from the dead, we have the child bringing back a parent. The special effects can be dodgy at times, but there are some memorable deaths in the film. Animal lovers may not like this flick due to all the animal deaths. The one human death that disturbed me as a kid, and still does to this day, is the scene where the bully gets his head pulled into his dirt bike tire by Clancy Brown. The performances in the film are all over the place. Clancy Brown is great, as I mentioned earlier, but Anthony Edwards just seems uninterested and on cruise control. I like his character and I like him as an actor. Check out Miracle Mile if you want to see a classic, underrated 80s thriller, but this is not his best outing. And now to Eddie Furlong. His performance is uneven. At times, he proves himself to be a good actor and charismatic, and other times he is laughably bad and seems to be drugged. I have the same opinion on his performance in Brain Scan, where at times he is playing angry, scared, and stressed out very well, and other times he is catatonic. I like his performance in both films, don't get me wrong, but there are scenes in both that leave a lot to be desired from an acting standpoint. The biggest issue I have with this film is the stupidity of the characters, which I know I'm reviewing a horror movie and without stupid characters, no horror would happen. But why the fuck would you bury that abusive asshole Gus in the Pet Sematary? It's not like he was a good dude and you didn't even kill him. You had a perfect animal attack to cover your tracks. The director Mary Lambert has tried to blame this dumb decision on boys being boys and, quote, the blood is not going to their brain, it's going somewhere else. That's a pretty fucking stupid after-the-fact narrative reason. The movie's finale is a chaotic and over-the-top affair that features multiple zombie characters and Jeff's creepy-ass longing for his dead mom. The movie has a few ties to the original, with references about the daughter Ellie from the first film going crazy, and a vet character mentioning Church the Cat.
Stay with me! That is better!
Pet Sematary 2 features nice autumn-fall vibes. The fact that the story takes place around Halloween time in a rural town makes this a fun watch during October. It was released in the summer of 1992 and grossed double its budget, making it a small success for Paramount. The film was met with critically negative reviews and mostly garnered its cult following through TV airings and home video. Stephen King even had his name removed from the project after seeing a completed version of it. Pet Sematary 2 is an unnecessary sequel that doesn't have the same impact as the original, but I find it to be a rather entertaining and disturbing one at times. The sequel isn't as solemn or as effective in generating existential dread, but it's got splatter, dark humor, and a few memorable and violent scenes. It's a cruel sequel that deserves more love than it gets, and it does make for a nice companion piece to the original, although tonally it can be whiplash. And I can't do a review of Pet Sematary and not talk about the Ramones and their awesome songs that contribute to the closing credits of both films. I highly recommend listening to both Poison Heart and my all-time favorite Ramones song, Pet Sematary, this October.
Stay back.
I got something, Drew, buddy.
Never had anyone die before. But I guess you get over it.